Hello and welcome to Crypto Interviews. My name is Claudio and this is CryptoScene, the channel where I do crypto news, reviews, tutorials, and interviews. And today I've got a special guest on whose channel I was also invited, and that is Seth Estrada from Mine Your Biz. He's also a crypto influencer, but he's also a miner. So he's here to talk about mining today. I haven't spoken about mining on this channel at all, so it's something new that maybe you are interested in too. You've probably heard of mining already. Of course you did if you're in the crypto space. But if you're new, you may be interested. And even if you're not, maybe you want to learn some new things that you didn't know about mining. Well, you're going to hear it straight from Seth Estrada. So Seth, welcome. And if you could please introduce yourself to the audience.
Absolutely. First off, Claudio, thank you so much for having me. I should have asked. I'm sorry. I'm inserting a slate. First off, thank you for having me on the channel, man. It's such a great pleasure. It was so much fun talking with you about top picks before and getting your insight on Polkadot. So I'm absolutely honored to have the invite onto your channel. With regards to my background, getting into cryptocurrencies, getting into mining, most of us come from non-traditional backgrounds. None of us studied crypto mining in college, right? Or at the university. It's just not something that's offered. Maybe at best, integrated systems. Some people have a background in or systems administration. And for me, that's not even the background that I had. I went from corporate training, most notably at Microsoft, at Google, at Samsung Telecom USA. So I bill myself as a Fortune 50 tech trainer because that's what I did as a senior national trainer for Microsoft and as a national new hire orientation trainer for Samsung Telecom. I also kind of feather in my cap. I helped debut a technology called ISIS Mobile Wallet, which was then transformed into soft card and then acquired by Google Wallet. So contactless payment with cell phones, with mobile phones running Android and iOS. So I've got a little bit of insight into payment systems that were being developed during the earlier phase of Bitcoin's development in tandem or alongside, totally blindly developed alongside them. That's a bit of my background. When cryptocurrency started to really run up in 2017, it caught my attention like everybody else's. I have a brother who was heavily involved in it in 2012, 2013. He actually dusted me my first Satoshis of Bitcoin in 2013, which obviously I lost, right?
Oh my God.
Because everybody does.
You lost the private key or the passphrase.
I did. Yeah. So like Peter Schiff, I lost my seed phrase. Don't ask me how much I got. But really, like at that time, very few people took it as seriously as maybe they should have, but I was aware of it. And I was aware of the concept of blockchain, aware of the cryptography, aware of really the social importance too. At the time I was living in Austin, Texas, so very libertarian oriented place. And so definitely the ethos, I definitely felt it within cryptocurrencies. I remember my brother telling me about the Ethereum ICO initially, and him, of course, telling me after the fact, like, man, I'm experiencing so much regret. I missed out. I think it was like 1,000 Ethereum per Bitcoin was the ICO when it launched. And he had some Bitcoin lying around, and he always talks about how, man, I missed out. I would have had 1,000 Ethereum. Can you imagine having that?
Bitcoin was about $100 or something like that back then, right?
Yeah. There was the volatility between 2013 and 2015 for Bitcoin was intense, right? It's never been for the faint of heart, right? Never been for weak hands. Yeah. And then you could have bought it for 300 before it dipped back to 100 at that point. So it did see a pretty intense spike before that point. But yeah, then imagine getting 1,000 Ethereum for close to $100. Wow. So a lot of people experience that FOMO, but they ran some multi-mining pools or some multi-coin mining pools at that time. So mining hit my radar about at that time, not from participation on my part. And this is my story and I'm sticking to it. I can't pretend to be somebody who was on Bitcoin Talk back in 2011 or pretend to be some OG. That's not my story. I heard about it and didn't act in 2013, 2014. In 2016, I started thinking, okay, I've got to get more active. I know I need to get more active. And in 2017, obviously, it was undeniable. I knew enough. I knew enough to know that I couldn't stay out any longer. So I jumped in.
Now or never.
Yeah, right. I mean, and it wasn't just FOMO. And no, I didn't panic buy. Didn't panic buy or FOMO in at 19K with Bitcoin. I bought in, so I was profitable and happy. Even in 2018, as the market corrected, I was still very happy with my entry point into Bitcoin and other coins. So, so that was really when I got started. And then it made sense to me because of my family's involvement, my brother's involvement in creating mining pools and in creating GPU mining rigs and telling me about their experience mining Litecoin on GPUs. They missed the Bitcoin GPU mineability window. There was a short time in which that made sense before ASICs hit.
Yeah.
But they kind of, I got a bit of, I had a bit of the mining wisdom from that time passed over to me by family members who were intimately acquainted with it. So, so kind of seeing the different iterations of technology that go into mining, I've been able to witness firsthand, or at least secondhand, and had the account told to me directly by people who were involved in it. Had plenty of long conversations with people who've actually done it when it was really, really hard to do. And I'm just going to tell you today, by comparison, if people are wondering how hard is it to get started with mining, it's easier than ever. It's never been easier. So, so yeah, hopefully today, as we go through some sort of structured Q&A, I can help reassure your audience that if they're curious about mining, they can do it. All they need to do is have that curiosity, and they definitely can approach it, and they can do it.
No, definitely. Thank you for that. That's awesome. It's great to hear. And I'm actually curious because we can scrap the idea of anybody actually mining Bitcoin unless you have a farm, right? Because it's just extremely expensive. The hash power you need is just absolutely insane. You need a lot of money to invest in the equipment, first of all. But let's say somebody was to, let's say they had a top-notch desktop computer with some GPUs already for gaming. What if they were to be interested in mining? What sort of coins could they be mining? Like, are there any possibilities at the moment to actually make some profit with mining as an end user? Like, I'm not talking about farms here, just a regular gamer.
Yeah,
And
no, absolutely.
what are
Absolutely, there
some of
are.
the projects that you know are proof of work and can offer you that opportunity?
Well, I brought a couple of things for show and tell for your viewers. The first is a GPU. This is a full length. It's actually a workstation class GPU, and I talked a lot about these on my channel a couple of years ago. The first thing to be aware of when mining with GPUs is that you're working with commodity hardware and you're working with consumer-oriented technology. There's a huge opportunity there in that something like this, 2 years ago, you might have been able to pick this up for about $600 or so at retail, because it wasn't a brand new part, and it was a bit exotic because it has 2 GPU cores instead of just 1. But because it has that unique feature and it's got a very large amount of video RAM on it, VRAM on it, got 32 gigabytes of VRAM on it. Now its resale value on a site like eBay is still it's over $500. So you recapture a significant amount of your initial purchase, your initial CapEx, when you buy correctly with GPUs, if you're looking at that. So that's the first thing to be aware of. Yes, there are coins that are profitable, but with GPUs and with consumer hardware in general, it's not a sunk cost in the way that buying the ASICs that you need for Bitcoin mining is. If you buy an ASIC for Bitcoin mining, you are committed to mining Bitcoin, and that's it. And the only person you're going to sell that hardware to is another Bitcoin miner. You're never going to sell it to a gamer. You're never going to sell it to a content creator or to a digital content creation artist, a studio. Like these workstation class GPUs, I've been reselling them to digital artists all across the world, in the EU and in Japan. I've had buyers for those. So that was a really good purchase on my part. And that's something for your audience to be aware of as well, is that if you are looking at actually purchasing hardware for GPU mining, then you can make really good decisions about the class of hardware that you buy and the potential for resale a year, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years down the line.
Yeah.
So you can recapture a lot of your investment that way before you even start mining.
Right.
And so
No, that's interesting. And what I'm actually curious about is obviously it does matter where you live, right? Because you're paying electricity costs. But what if you're to use like solar energy? I know some people are asking about solar energy mining. Is that even possible? I mean, how much solar energy would you really need to mine, really? I mean, would it be sustainable? Because the cost of those panels can be quite expensive too in most countries. And also hydroelectricity, maybe that's another thing. Of course, that's only based on some countries, like Georgia, for example, is known for that. I know there was a company that was doing that in Georgia. But I mean, what would you suggest, like apart from the cost of electricity, what sort of coins are still profitable nowadays, which you think are projects that have been going on for a while, right? They're not like going to do any rug pulls on people and stuff like that. But you know what I mean, like decent enough projects that could generate a decent enough revenue.
Sure. Well, let me pull up as a visual aid. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show a website to your followers so they can have a resource that they can return to without having to take my word for it and without having to trust. They can verify, right? So, oh no, I'm sorry. So I'm going to need to have screen sharing enabled.
Yeah, 1 second. See if I can.
And for the record, I have no risque backgrounds or, you know. Okay, so I'm going to share a tool then for your followers so that they can, they don't have to trust me and they can just verify for themselves which coins are best for them to mine. They can always go to this resource, and it's even got an API. If you're handy with APIs or you're a developer and you want to pull in some of this data, then you can, or at least it'll export all of the data in JSON so you can make use of it somewhere else. Yeah. So yeah, if you're technical like that, if you're not, it's a great website and you don't have to be technical. You can just use this resource. So I'm going to pull open, it's called What to Mine, and make sure that's optimized so that, there we go. There we go. You can still see this all right?
Yeah, it's a bit blurry. It's a bit blurry, but we can still see it.
Okay, let me share just once again. And I apologize. Thank you so much to your audience for being okay with. Sometimes it takes just a second to get things ready. All right, so that should be optimized for your editing.
Perfect now,
later on. Okay, so this is whattomine.com, and it's pretty straightforward. And What to Mine has various tabs along the top so that if you're using an ASIC to mine with, then you can go to the ASICs. If you want to just check out coins directly, or if you want to try to dual mine Ethereum with something else, you can. And there we go. The GPU tab here is where I am. And I have custom data sets for all kinds of different GPUs that I'm interested in. And then I have a test tab here where I can set up any kind of custom data. So it's really very powerful, very, very granular control. Right here, this is the AMD RX 580, and I've put 8 of those in here and then selected it by clicking on the model number. If I wanted to, we'll go through a couple of scenarios here. If I wanted to change it, I can, and we'll do that just really briefly so that your audience has an opportunity to see what that looks like. But here below it, I can select which algorithms the GPU is running. Ethash or the Dagger Hashimoto, that's the algorithm that Ethereum uses, and Ethereum Classic, as well as others. Very likely going to be at the top of the list, but I'm going to select just for the sake of you know, my information, right? Just for clarity on my part, as somebody who's researching which coins are profitable today at this precise snapshot in time, I'm going to leave all of these selected. If for whatever reason I was not interested in them, I could simply click on that algorithm name and deselect it, and it would remove it from my results down below when I ask it to calculate.
Yeah, Aeon is a good project, and also Beam. I mean, I've heard of these projects before. I haven't heard of many of the other ones though, like Koku2, for example, and Kookaroo.
Yeah, these are a bit interesting. So Koku Cycle, Kookaroo, Kookaroo D, Kookaroo Z, Koku2 32 and 31, respectively. These are all algorithms that are used by variants of Grin, and then some other coins that have adopted that proof of work algorithm because of its difficulty and because of its relatively low use. So it's not a high competition algorithm. And there are reasons for that from a coin developer standpoint that are pretty important. But from a mining standpoint, you need to know how the GPUs that either you have or that you're interested in perform on these algorithms.
So how could you compare, for example, between Aeon and Beam? How could you know which is more profitable to mine with the same GPU settings that you've got?
Great question. So I'll deselect every other algorithm right now, except for Beam, Aeon, and just for the sake of your audience's information And for their benefit today, I'm going to leave ETH hash as well, so they can see comparatively what that looks like.
Yeah.
Down below, I've got some additional filters that I can use to cut out any results that I may not be interested in. I need to know what my cost for power is. So check your power bill from your utility to see what the final breakdown is for your delivered rate, not what they say your promised rate is. It's kind of like when you go to the store and you see an item on the shelf and it has a certain price, right? But when you go to the register, obviously there are all sorts of taxes, fees, and tariffs applied depending on where you are, right? Unless you're at the airport and you're at a duty-free shop, the price is never what's listed right there on the shelf, right? The same is true of your power. So find out what your delivered cost per kilowatt hour is. And that's the notation down there below, kilowatt hour. We're going to say that you have 7 cents per kilowatt hour. That's a very, very competitive rate. So you're unlikely to have that at home. But if you were able to obtain some sort of an industrial or a commercial facility close by, maybe you have a friend that runs a restaurant, for example, or you have a friend that runs a tire shop or an automotive dealership, they would have this rate. So maybe you can leave your rigs over there. But this would be the ideal rate, 7 cents per kilowatt hour. And for my part, I like to mine the averages, so to speak. I don't really believe in looking at the 24-hour profitability. It's very misleading when it comes to mining, because if you change your rig every 24 hours, well, unless you're exchanging the coins you just mined every 24 hours as well, you're not going to obtain the profit that's listed here for 24 hours.
Right.
So
I see.
I like sorting by profitability for 7 days, and I like sorting the difficulty over the average of 7 days as well. And then I like putting a volume filter. If some coin has less than half a Bitcoin of volume, and they don't do a good job of clearly notating that, but this is in Bitcoin volume. If that has less than half a Bitcoin of volume per day, it's going to be very difficult for many people to mine it profitably and sell those at exchange.
Right.
So I can also, for convenience, maybe there are some exchanges that I don't use. For example, Poloniex. I no longer use Poloniex. Maybe I'll just remove that from the list so that the exchange rates from Poloniex don't muddy my results. Dub Wallet as well, don't use. But some of the others I do, and I'd love to get that average from the others. So I'll leave those selected.
Yeah.
Now I'll click on Calculate. And for the cards that I've selected, the AMD RX 580, it's a very common GPU, very easy to find at a very good price. And I have one rig over here with 8 of them already installed. So this is relevant to me. When I scroll down, I see at the very top of the list, Ethereum Classic, NiceHash, mining the Ethereum algorithm, and then Ethereum are in the top 3. And for a mining rig like that, every 24 hours in USD value, I could be earning between about $7.50 and $8.50 after the cost of power. It's pretty awesome. Considering that I'm not doing anything myself except for pressing run on the software and making sure that the rig has power and isn't getting too dirty.
So surprisingly, you're earning more on Ethereum Classic and Ethereum than you're earning on Beam. Why is that? Is it the demand on the actual hash power on Beam? Is it higher, or
so
difficulty, or is it a difficulty?
That's a brilliant question. So there are so many factors that affect this. Beam, if we were to delete the results from Ethereum and Ethereum Classic and then NiceHash for the Ethereum algorithm, Beam would be at the top of the list. It's an astute observation there. And part of that has to do with network difficulty for Beam. Part of that has to do with coin value for Beam. But with Ethereum, the economics are skewed by gas fees. So high gas fees on Ethereum due to DeFi are fueling this high profit for miners. So right now, while you may be on crypto Twitter or you may be looking at the news and hearing about people getting rug pulled by projects like Sushi, and while a lot of people are getting upset.
Other DeFis on Uniswap and things like that.
Yeah, you're hearing the controversy there. And miners are just rubbing their hands and saying, this is great. Don't ever get rid of DeFi because this is amazing. Yeah. This is the best thing to happen.
Everyone's moving to Ethereum right now, thanks to the fees. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that mean that the difficulty is also increasing?
So the difficulty will increase on all of these networks, Ethereum Classic and Ethereum. With NiceHash, of course, it's a marketplace. And so they're paying you a higher rate so they can resell the hash rate to a third party that wants to direct it at either of these two projects or any other project that uses the ETH algorithm. So just to be aware, but yeah, I mean, difficulty, it does go up, but the difficulty algorithm used by Ethereum Classic and Ethereum, the difficulty adjustment algorithm that's used, so that as more people mine it or as fewer people mine it, it scales appropriately. It's not too sharp a drop off. It doesn't stay high for too long. It can be different. So difficulty does go up, and it is adjusted depending on whether or not there are a lot of participants or whether or not there are fewer participants contributing higher hash rate per individual. But for the at-home miner, one of the most important things for you to look at is just the trend over the last, as I like to look at it, over the last 3 or 7 days, maybe over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It'll tell a story that just the current difficulty can't tell. So yeah, current difficulty might dissuade you from participating. But if you see that consistently over the last 7 days, anybody else with 8 of these GPUs has been earning $10 a day before the cost of power, well, then maybe you can take that risk. So,
wow. So it looks like the profit for Ethereum Classic has gone up even more than Ethereum. Is it due to DeFi as well for Ethereum Classic?
No, it's not due to DeFi for Ethereum Classic, because many projects have chosen not to build on Ethereum Classic.
They've chosen to build on Ethereum, which is odd. That's why I don't understand why the returns are so big for Ethereum Classic.
Well, part of it is that their controversy. This industry, it is fueled by controversy, right? So Ethereum Classic has had 3 successful 51% attacks this year, which is insane, right? It's crazy. And here it is at the top of the list for profitability. The pumpamentals, so to speak, of crypto, they don't always make sense. But it could be that there was a rewards adjustment by the leadership of Ethereum Classic. And don't quote me, I'm not totally up to speed on their latest improvement proposals for Ethereum Classic. But it could be that there was an rewards adjustment, and so that rewards are higher per block than on competing chains because they want to attract miners. So that's always a possibility. Gas fees are definitely lower on Ethereum Classic because of usage being fairly low. So there's not really a whole lot of downside to mining a project like Ethereum Classic if you are prepared to exchange those coins quickly, right?
Definitely. And I'm just curious, like, do you normally mine one specific coin for, say, 1 week or so, or do you switch all the time? Like, do you switch daily, for example, or do you switch even more often?
Yeah, brilliant question. I definitely don't switch daily. It's just too much work, man. I mean, I've got a life. You do too. We've chatted about it privately, that like you've got a full-time job. I do either freelance or contract work, and that's like time and a half just getting work lined up. So I don't have time every day to switch algorithms and try to figure out, okay, which coins are burning a hole in my pocket and I have to go exchange right away. Or burning a hole in my wallet that I have to go exchange, or are they dumping, or is it a long-term hold? I can't speculate on that many fronts every single day, but weekly, yeah, I do evaluate every week.
Okay. Apparently there are softwares out there, from what I've heard, that can allow you to switch based on profitability automatically.
That's true. Yeah. So NiceHash is one of them. And as a marketplace, they also have a desktop mining software for Windows that will automatically switch from one to the other. They also have their own custom Linux operating system that has that user agent built in that will communicate with their marketplace, and then will switch your GPUs to whatever the most profitable mining algorithm is, but just for their marketplace. And then there's some others as well that will do that and switch from coin to coin. Mining Pool Hub is one that if you're mining one algorithm, it'll switch from the most profitable coin to the other. So if you were mining Dagger Hashimoto, Ethash, it could automatically switch you from Ethereum to Ethereum Classic if you were on Mining Pool Hub. That said, Claudia, for my part, I just don't view it as a very good way to go long-term, because if you are worried about what the profitability is from one day to the next, that could signal price volatility. And it could mean that your mining profits from 36 hours ago are no longer valid. It could mean that what did represent $10 yesterday only represents $7 tomorrow.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
so
So they change
yeah,
very quickly as well then.
they
Wow.
can, but I don't know. I'm of the opinion that right now, anybody who's looking at GPU mining and isn't taking Ethereum seriously, frankly, they aren't taking mining seriously. They're not,
Sure.
yeah, they're not taking, they don't like money, I guess.
And
So
just a question on mining pools. So do you recommend that people should join a mining pool, or can you do any standalone mining yourself? And if yes, which one of these would you say is worth doing standalone? Or say, for example, maybe Ubic or Beam, just because they're, I don't know, lower market cap, maybe less people are mining them, or do you have to join a mining pool for those two?
generally speaking, if you're not mining with a pool, you're just going to see fewer payouts over time. And,
Right.
but you will eventually hit a block on your own if you're solo mining. It's even true of Ethereum, but the amount of time before you hit a payout is much longer. With a mining pool, if you did want to set it to pay out rewards automatically every day, you could, or every week, you could do that. Now, with a network like Ethereum, because gas fees are so high, and you're only earning, what is that, $9.17 a day? I mean, you could pay you could pay $20 in gas fees. So why would you why would you accept a payout daily, right? Just wouldn't make any sense.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But with other networks, that's not really as much of a problem. Solo mining is possible on any coin. You have to ask yourself, is it the kind of risk that I can bear waiting for a 2 months or 6 months before I receive a payout? What happens
Wow.
if my infrastructure fails, right? Like I
Yeah.
have to turn my mining rig off, something else happens, you're fronting the cost of electricity for that level of that amount of time. There are so many factors that will affect you. For most miners at home or at the mid scale, it makes a lot more sense to take a payout by joining a pool. You're still getting fairly fresh Coinbase level transactions. Depending on the mining pool, they may have just a really good smart contract enabled to ensure that you're still getting Coinbase transactions and you're not getting coins that have already been handed off 5, 6, 7 times. So
Yeah.
if that's a consideration as well, you don't have to worry about it too much. Most modern mining pools and most of the most popular mining pools, they handle your coins very carefully. So you're about as close to Coinbase as it gets.
Wow. No, that's very good. Thanks for the explanation. No, I mean, that pretty much answered a lot of questions probably that people had. And now I'm curious. So, for example, if you want to search for a specific coin on this website, can you do so as long as it's a proof of work coin?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to
So
switch to the
let's say you
coins
want to
tab.
search for Kulupu, because as you probably know, my channel is very Polkadot focused now lately, since Polkadot has been launched. So Kulupu is the only proof of work project on Polkadot. I have done a review on it as well, but I'm curious to see what the returns are for that, because coin holders can actually vote in democracy for the block rewards. So they keep on reducing that block reward for miners all the time, but I'm curious if it's still profitable for a miner to actually mine Kulupu. So KLP is the ticker symbol, if you can't find it by the full name.
Yeah, it looks like it's not available there. There are some other tools that are similar to this one. So I'm going to go to miningpoolstats.stream. This is another tool that anybody who's looking at prospecting in the mining space should be aware of. Miningpoolstats.stream. And I'll look for KLP here, and it should, interesting.
Yeah, it is a new PO, proof of work coin.
It looks like it's not listed here just yet, so there would have to be some kind of, so in that case, I would look up KLP mining profit calculator. And I mean, you'll see me jump down the rabbit hole real time. This would be my process if I were looking at it, evaluating it for myself.
Yeah, yeah.
So Kulupu Mining Calculator, there it is on minerstat.com. They've got it listed early, so kudos to them. This is another resource that can be used that's trusted by a lot of miners.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, Kulupu. Okay,
So
so 60 KLP is the block reward at the moment. But as of Friday, they're going to drop it. I believe it's going to drop to 30 or to 40. I can't remember 100%. So
okay.
I'm wondering what it's going to be like right now
So
and
something
how it
that's
may.
important to make note of here is random X1 is the algorithm that it uses. If it's very closely related to random X, then we can find out what the performance of your GPU or your CPU is on random X.
Yeah.
Here's another one. So we'll get it very specific here. So Monero benchmarks. Oh, I could probably spell it correctly. That would help. So monerobenchmarks.info. And this is random X data that's been aggregated by the Monero community. So thank you to the Monero community for being very giving, right? They
Yeah, they are
aggregate this
using
for
the
free.
Monero algorithm from what I
Yeah.
read on their
So
website.
So here you can check for a CPU, random X and variants of random X, like this one for Kulupu, they perform much better on CPUs than they do on GPUs. So if you have a multi-processor server style motherboard or workstation motherboard lying around that you're already working with, it's a little more rare for a person to have. I have one because I've got a scientific computer for machine learning, whatever else, just for kicks, right? But I'm also a hardware nerd, so if you're not a hardware nerd, you might not have something that performs really highly here. But let's just say you've got an AMD Ryzen 7 processor. It's a very common desktop processor right now. It performs very well on random X. And there you go. The top of the line currently is doing, let's just go ahead and take an average here. And yeah, we'll say about 9,400 hashes per second. Let's compare that to what is shown here. 100 hashes per second, not comparable to what you should be able to do with a modern desktop processor, something that a gamer or an enthusiast might have.
Right.
So again, we'll put for the cost, 7 cents per kilowatt hour. Pool fee is very rare for a crypto mining pool to have zero fees. 1% is considered acceptable. I'm going to put it there.
Yeah.
And then power consumption, we'll take that from this as well, 168 watts. We'll just round that to 165. And then we'll calculate again to see what the profit is there. Looks like very low cost daily, but also fairly low profit. You know, like, there you go, about 9 cents USD per hour. But
and 24 hours is 240.
It's not that
versus
bad.
Ethereum, which is $9. So now we can see the difference.
Well, the other difference is that Ethereum, $9 for a day, that's with 8 GPUs. This is with one CPU.
It's the cost as well as, you know, of the equipment that you need to earn the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is with one CPU.
This is with one CPU. Okay. And this is a fairly common choice for most enthusiasts today for the desktop. Wow. It's not the top of the line from AMD, but it's not the bottom of the line either. It's a really good.
So for example, Kulupu might actually be more profitable for most people.
Potentially.
CPU.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Well, and getting started with what you have available today. Let's take as another example. Let's go with a Core i5 desktop processor. This is a much more commonly used desktop CPU, and it's available in a lot of laptops as well. So here's some laptop mining. If all you have is a MacBook lying around or some kind of a laptop of some other maker model, you're going to be, so lower wattage right there, but also lower hash rate, 4,100 hashes per second at about 85 watts. Let's put that in as something that's probably more realistic for your viewers to encounter. Done about, there you go, half on both of those values, but that's still $1 a day in profit. It's not bad for a laptop.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, grab your significant other's laptop, put a little miner on all the laptops at work. Just don't get caught.
So what's your take on the block reward being reduced? Because I mean, it is going to get reduced to 40 or 30. I can't remember off the top of my head this Friday. So that's going to significantly, I mean, if it's going to be 30, that'll halve it, no? So the profits will be halved as well per CPU.
Yeah. What's interesting is that block reward halving there's not always a direct correlation to mining profits over the long term. Immediately, yes, of course, right? From one day to the next, if your mining rewards are cut in half, then the incentive to mine is lessened. But that tends to shake weak hands out of the mining market. It happened with Bitcoin. It happens every halving with Bitcoin. And it happens with block reward reductions on Ethereum historically. I mentioned that as a possibility with Ethereum Classic, that maybe they increase the block reward to attract miners back in because of lack of participation. But on projects like this, if Kulupu does have a lot of interest from miners right now, and I'm sure that after this video, hopefully it should. I mean, it's got my interest. It wasn't even on my radar. So
no, it's Polkadot related. It's the only proof of work on Polkadot. That's how I found out about it.
Yeah,
Because as you
Yeah,
know,
brilliant.
I'm following all these Polkadot projects now. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, and again, every interaction that we have, Claudio, I think you make me more of a Polkadot believer. So this is great. But
No
as
shilling,
far
no
as
shilling.
right, I'm just saying. I mean,
No, but we
there's
gotta be honest here. I mean, anybody who has been in the crypto space now for the last while, even new people, I mean, they've seen Polkadot's potential. It's up there in coin market cap, competing with projects like Chainlink, like maybe not with Ethereum, obviously, because Ethereum's a giant, but you've got projects like Chainlink, Cardano, that it's competing with. Cardano don't even have a product yet, so
yeah, yeah.
Polkadot are out there, and soon they're gonna have the parachain auctions. So I think Kulupu has a chance once we're gonna see more use cases on Polkadot. Like for example, there you can also build smart contracts on Kulupu. Not yet, but they're working on that, the development aspect of it. So I think when Polkadot grows and matures, that's when you're going to see projects like Kulupu start to also mature. So we'll see how miners perform on those as well. So I'm curious to get your thought, like what about the coin holders? So with these proof of work coins, right?
Mhm.
Assuming they're not listed on all these big exchanges, and we're talking about the smaller projects, assuming, because most of these projects are open source and you got a bunch of developers who are enthusiasts about it and are working on it, but they don't have the funding to list on these big exchanges, which are money hungry. As you know, they charge a ton of money. So
Yeah.
how do you think that could impact like coin holders and then eventually affect miners too? Because miners are constantly generating lots of coins. They want to sell for profit, and not only for profit, but obviously to cover their costs and stuff for their equipment and all that.
Yeah.
How do you see coin holders being impacted from that aspect, and could that actually affect the project in the long run?
It definitely does. It definitely does. And there are some legacy miners in the community within crypto Twitter and BitcoinTalk.org. A lot of people who've been in the space far longer than I have. So I'm going to give some kudos and some acknowledgement to a guy named Not So Fast. He goes by the handle Not So Fast on crypto Twitter, and he's mentioned he's got probably 40 or 50 different coin bags that he's held over the years, waiting for an exchange listing or waiting for some kind of a massive event that would make it possible for him to either sell at exchange or even just sell OTC, because it becomes interesting in the public's eye. So speculative mining for people who are serious about proof of work mining, this is it's legacy at this point. It's been happening since the very first forks of Bitcoin. And yeah, that what you mentioned before, that definitely affects the prospects of somebody who has invested time, money, and effort into mining a coin for, even if it's just been 24 hours or a few days or a week or so, and they're sitting on a small bag full of say like a dozen or a couple hundred coins or a few thousand, or depending on how early they get in and the coin emission rate, maybe they've got a couple million coins.
Yeah.
That definitely affects it if they're one of only 10 wallets that hold it, or if they're one of even 10,000 wallets that hold it, but then there's never really an established path to selling, and there's never really an established value because of exchange listings. Yeah, that is a problem in the proof of work space for sure.
And do you know from experience, especially with these smaller projects, you've probably been following some of these smaller ones that you've been mining. I mean, how do they get the funding to list on exchanges?
That's a
Because
great
eventually
question.
some of these do, like.
Yeah. Historically, what I see most frequently with proof of work projects that are being that are experiencing the exchange listing shakedown, they either go to the community and ask for some sort of a raise, where they'll say, hey, we have this much value so far, or we'd like to sell OTC to some of our community because we've also been engaged in mining, or maybe there was some sort of a pre-mine or community fund or dev fund with each block reward. And generally speaking, they ask the community, are you okay with this? We'll make this a community governance issue. And if you're okay with it, vote with your dollars, vote with your BTC, and purchase this much coin from us with BTC. And then we assert, maybe we'll put it into some kind of a smart contract, like for whatever we have to do to assure confidence in our project governance, we'll do that. And most frequently, they get that money from the community. If the community thinks, yeah, that's valuable enough, we see the long-term value of having this listed here, our holdings should go up. So we'll spend a little bit.
Yeah.
It's less common that there's some kind of a dev fund that has inherent value that the developers say, we'll spend this somehow for getting it listed. That has happened in the past, where there are smaller exchanges for privacy coins, for example, where the exchange operators say, we see the value in this project, so we'll basically, we'll co-invest, or we will or will take equity essentially by listing you either for free or in your native coin, which has no value yet. That does happen,
Yeah.
but yeah, but it's a bit like in the VC world, right? Having people say like, right, or in the startup, tech startup world, right? Where if you have like a developer shop saying, if you hit them up for free development work, very, very uncommon for a developer shop to say, we love your vision, we'll work for free. That's right.
Yeah.
It almost never happens.
Not gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very good. Thanks for answering that. No, I was curious to get your thought on that because that's what I'm seeing now, like with some of these proof of work coins, like especially the newer ones listing, they're struggling to be on newer exchanges. They usually list on one exchange, which is quite small, nobody really cares about. But then the community's pushing, like, come on, I bought your coin, you know what's gonna happen. Obviously, if you're a miner, you might care, and of course you will care because you want liquidity, right? You want the price to eventually go up, but you'll also be impacted if you're mining and then you see that, okay, it's not going to get listed anywhere. What's going to happen? The price is just going to dump on me or what, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a concern basically for
Yeah.
holders, I think.
It's not for weak hands. I'll say that if you're into speculative mining and you don't see a very quick roadmap, a very short roadmap and path to getting to an exchange listing where you can then sell coins or maybe just engage in some kind of speculative trades. Maybe you want to be involved in the pump, right? And maybe you want to personally wash trade everything that you have so you can try to pump your own stuff. That's my wife's the best.
No worries.
Yeah, sorry. Like, little breakfast.
I don't have a beer with me, sorry, so I can't
yeah,
I can't knock on with you, you know. We'll
oh
do
well,
it virtually.
I won't be drinking this straight.
Oh, it's sauce. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it was a beer.
Yeah, it's the other sauce. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. Speculative mining is not for the faint of heart. Projects like what you brought up, Kulupu on a much, yeah, within Polkadot, but Kulupu, something that is proof of work within a larger ecosystem that already has investor confidence, that already has some velocity, right, and some liquidity, and yeah, it's got a very clear future to it, right? No one would argue that a project launching on Polkadot is like pointless or has no future. Yeah. So much safer bet than spec mining something else where you wonder, okay, will it ever get listed? I mean, I had on screen there CoinGecko. It's already in the top 300. That's amazing.
No, definitely. Yeah. No, awesome. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And I hope if you, as the viewer, if you've been watching this whole interview, if you haven't watched all of it, please do. There's a lot of interesting stuff. And again, I will be separating the different topics that we've been discussing so that you can just go to that specific time in the description of this video if you're only interested in doing that. Thanks to YouTube, we are able to do that now. We can split it. We could do it before, but now you can see it on the screen in the bars. So you can just go to that specific topic if you don't have time to watch the full video. But as a last question, I do ask this to everyone who's coming to my channel is, what is one thing in life that you truly desire?
Ooh, one thing in life that I truly desire. Claudio, I'm gonna hit that curveball just as hard as I can in a different direction. I already have what I truly desire. Wow. I have happiness and family relationships. I could die a wealthy man today. Everything else is secondary. However, things that I'm working towards are permanent financial stability for not just my family, but the coming generations. Yeah. Because that is everything to me. Family is everything.
Wow. Very strong words. That's something unique as well, because we've had people on the channel say stuff like freedom. A couple of people actually said freedom, but it's something unique. I mean, it's nice to hear different people's opinions on that. And the reason I'm asking this question, what's interesting is somebody actually DM'd me on Telegram asking me like, give me like a survey. And I was like, who are you? You know, and you started to ask me all these random questions. And one of the questions was, what is one thing in life you truly desire? So I thought, that's a really good question. You know, I can use that for, so kudos to that person. I don't know who they are. Like I said, they just DM me on Telegram, some random person with no username, no nothing. So I thought, that's actually a good question. So that's why I'm always using it. It's actually interesting to hear other people's thoughts on that, get their answers.
Well, and I appreciate that too. Thank you for not asking me what, whatever Bitcoin price prediction, because that one's getting tired, right?
Yeah. There's no way. I mean, you're not an oracle, right? So come on, nobody can, only Nostradamus.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
well, even
thank
that
you very
guy, I don't
much
know. Cal
for coming on. It was really good. It was fun. I've learned something new as well. There were a lot of things that I didn't know. You've answered a lot of questions that I didn't have answers to. So I appreciate that, and I hope to have you on again in the future. Of course, we'll be discussing other topics as the space grows and things change all the time, you know. So even mining might change. Who knows? Maybe we'll be
definitely.
mining with our brains pretty soon. So
I don't know, man. If Elon Musk has his way, probably.
exactly, Neuralink. But thank you very much for coming on, and thank you very much for watching. As always, you don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and like the video if you enjoyed it, or dislike if you don't. But you can find Mind Your Business YouTube channel, Seth Estrada, in the pinned comment below this video. So do check him out. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.